have talked about police dogs before. In my video called Dogs Are Not Heroes, I showed a video of a woman, an innocent woman who was taking out her trash and was attacked by a police dog.
Oh, there's a lady. Ouch, ouch. Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. Grab it, grab it.
Please!
Yep.
Help me!
We're trying to get you off.
Good show, ma'am.
Okay. Stand up, stand up.
Stand up, we'll get you some medics.
Stand up.
Oh, what did I do to him?
Nothing.
Nothing, ma'am.
It's
You're
not
just
your
in the
fault.
wrong place at the wrong time, ma'am.
Just take a seat over here, okay?
You know, often people say to me, well, what about police dogs? When I argue that dogs should be banned from society. They talk about police dogs as though they are necessary and, are heroic. Now, I want to make another video about police dogs for a couple of reasons. My viewer called Kisaraji Hina, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, alerted me to an article that was published recently about police dogs that I will get to shortly. But first, I want to talk about this article that I read in our local paper. Actually, it's all over my province where I live. I've checked out a few different papers. They're covering this story. It's like major news. And this isn't the first time I have seen something like this. This police dog was killed in the line of duty, as if it's a police officer like any other officer. They have created this memorial, and members of the public are bringing flowers, and there's a doghouse, like just these things they're bringing for this dead dog, piling them up in this memorial, whatever you call it. But not only that, there was a parade of vehicles. They actually had a parade of vehicles for this dog. I'll link you to the article. There's a constable from Campbell River where this took place. And he's talking in this video and he's almost in tears. He's so emotional and I can just see how much pain he's in. And I honestly find it really, really creepy because we are talking about a predatory carnivore that doesn't have the capacity to feel love or empathy or care about you at all. Why do you care so much about it? It's just baffling. But anyway, you know what I'm thinking? Everyone thinks these dogs are heroic. They're not acting heroically. They're doing what they were trained to do, and they attack indiscriminately. Now let's jump to this other article that my viewer Kisaraji Hina told me about. Time to cancel police dogs, experts say. Now, I'll be the first to admit I am not an expert. But for years now, I've been telling people that having police dogs is a bad idea. We should not be using them. But now experts are saying the same thing. Let's just have a look at this article together. This article, by the way, was published 6 days ago. Police canines are grossly, disproportionately used against people of color. They inflict gruesome, lifelong injuries and often attack people who have committed minor crimes. Last month, the small northern Alberta town of High Prairie lowered its flag to half-mast, and a police department posted a touching social media tribute after an Indigenous man was killed during a tragic firefight. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police Facebook post and photo collage garnered more than 1,100 shares. Excuse me. I'm drinking a birch beer right now. It's a non-alcoholic root beer-like beverage, and it's awesome. Check out Boylan Birch Beer. It's my favorite drink. Anyway. So Facebook post and photo collage garnered more than 1,100 shares, 4,200 likes, and hundreds of comments calling the incident heartbreaking and offering love and prayers. Because an Indigenous man was killed? Wrong. None of it was for the 29-year-old man that police shot after chasing him down for outstanding warrants related to unspecified crimes. It was all for a 5-year-old police service dog. As if we care about the name. The name is irrelevant. Who was also killed during the 2-day manhunt. Now, you see what I'm talking about? People care more for the dog than they do the man. I've been saying that dog life has more value than human life for a long time now, and it is true. Police dogs evoke public sympathy and adoration at a time when trust in law enforcement is at a record low. Isn't that weird? The 4-legged cops, they're not cops. I hate it when people refer to dogs as cops. Let's look up the definition of police officer. Yeah, see? Police officers are not dogs. Anyway, the police dogs are Instagram stars who visit schools and collect fawning comments on police department Facebook pages. Canada's Federal Police Service even holds contests for kids to name its canine recruits. When they die, the dogs are often mourned in elaborate public funerals. But their furry facade is unraveling. As experts and civil rights activists and defenders of humans and the natural world and her supporters call for an end to public dog deployment amid patterns of brutal, unnecessary attacks. People are outraged. They're outraged if a police officer attacks a human. But dogs do it all the time. And we hail them as heroes. Why? You know? Makes no sense. Christy Lopez, a law professor who investigated police departments in her role with the U.S. Department of Justice under Barack Obama, said, "The canine officer's cutesy public image masks a broken system that is beyond repair." It's such a metaphor for the way we whitewash policing. It's as if we're gaslighting ourselves. Why are we willfully ignoring that we pay our police department to buy and train dogs to attack humans? Lopez said. We do not count either the cost or the benefit, and we do not listen to people who have been harmed. It's interesting how the victims' voices are not heard. Like, I would really like to interview victims of dog attacks. I'm not sure how I would go about this, but I would love to produce a video where I can collect the voices of the survivors of dog attacks and have them tell their stories. How can I go about this? Let me know if you guys have any ideas. We believe these Instagram accounts of these cute dogs. Well, I don't think they're cute. I think they look hideous. So beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And so we have a grossly upside down sense of the costs and benefits of these canines. Lopez has found police canines are grossly disproportionately used against people of color, inflict gruesome lifelong injuries, and often attack people who have committed minor crimes. Imagine if a human being, ran up to, chased someone, yelling threats at a person who, let's say, I don't know, minor crime, stole a loaf of bread or something, and then proceeded to stab them and tear the flesh in their arms and legs and wherever. Could you imagine the outrage if that would happen? Dogs are doing it to people. No one says anything. And why is that? Is it because people just aren't aware? That's why we have to work hard at raising awareness. Please share this video. I'm going to put another link in the description to this article. Police dogs bite thousands every year, and no one is accountable. It's crazy. An extensive investigation led by the Marshall Project last year. And by the way, I encourage you to click on these links. They will take you to other articles that you can read. I will provide the link to this article in the description. But like I said, just check out these other, everything that's underlined. Click on it to read more. The investigation examined more than 150 severe bites and found almost none of the victims were armed. And most were suspected of low-level, non-violent crimes. Some were innocent bystanders. Imagine if police officers, as they like to call dogs, imagine if real police officers were going around biting. Well, they don't bite. Let's say stabbing, because a bite is like a stab. Stabbing innocent bystanders. Would people make excuses for them? Would they have elaborate public funerals and parades of vehicles after they die and all these, outpourings of sympathy and all this attention on social media? All these comments that praise them, and oh my God, it's just insane. Some were innocent bystanders. Among those cases are an Arizona man whose face was bitten off and a 51-year-old man who committed no crime but was mauled to death in Alabama when a dog tore an artery in his groin. This is unacceptable. There shouldn't even be one case of this happening. One case alone should be enough for us to abolish the use of dogs on the police force. But it happens over and over. Thousands of bites every year. What the hell is going on? Civil rights attorney DeWitt Lacey has represented more than a dozen victims of police dog bites. His clients are often poor, sometimes homeless. Their injuries vary from small puncture wounds to torn flesh and broken bones. A woman he's currently representing, Lorene Frausto, was sleeping in an abandoned West Covina, California post office 2 years ago when she woke up to a police dog mauling her arm, according to a lawsuit Lacey filed. The dog allegedly dragged her more than 40 feet while officers asked her questions before they slung her mangled arm behind her back to cuff her. Frausto underwent 4 surgeries, lost function in her left arm and hand, and was left with permanent deformities, as well as extreme psychological distress and a paralyzing fear of dogs and police. The suit says, well, that paralyzing fear is understandable. Because this is crazy. I've talked about how dogs have been used for centuries, for thousands of years, as instruments of terror to attack other humans. They were used to chase down and attack slaves that were trying to escape. This whole business of using dogs to intimidate and to subdue people has its roots in slavery, in oppression. It's just sick that we are still doing this to people. It is so barbaric. Are we not more evolved now? Are we not more civilized today? The case prompted the American Civil Liberties Union of Southern California to call for an end to police dog use. So it's not just me calling for an end to police dog use. The American Civil Liberties Union of Southern California is also. That's a circumstance where, in my mind, they give the dog a reward for searching. Here, I'll let you have a chew toy. And that is despicable, because no one should be treated like that. But these things happen with such frequency, especially with homeless persons, that at some point we have to ask why, Lacey said. I produced a video about dogs and the homeless, and I was shocked by the number of disgusting aporophobic comments I received. Aporophobia is a fear of the poor. I don't understand this, how people harbor such hostility towards those of lower social classes. It really sickens me. People don't care about the homeless people because they think that they are there by choice. It's like people don't understand the circumstances. They don't understand addiction. They don't understand mental illness. They think it's all a question of willpower and working hard. A friend shared a meme with me today. I don't know why this glaringly obvious fact is not apparent to everyone. But anyway, homeless people are people, and they are deserving of the same rights we all enjoy. Just because they're homeless doesn't make their lives any less valuable. Anyway, I couldn't sit there and watch a dog chomp on somebody's arm for 3 minutes and not be very, very disturbed by it. But some of these officers can. Well, I'm very, very disturbed by it. And that's why I'm making this video. By contrast, Minneapolis-based civil trial lawyer Katie Bennett has dealt with several cases where a canine's handler panicked and tried unsuccessfully to pull the dog back when it bit a victim. You can see they couldn't get the dog off. That's what I saw in that video. That's what we saw in that video I shared with you of that poor woman that was taking out her garbage. They tend to pull instead of doing the proper release, and it makes the injuries way worse. Desiree Collins, a black woman who Bennett represented, sued the city of St. Paul after a dog latched onto her elbow as she was taking out her garbage in the morning. Well, this is probably the same woman that I was just talking about. Well, police were out looking for someone else. Bennett also helped litigate a successful $2 million lawsuit for Frank Baker, a black man who was not suspected of any crime, when he was brutally attacked by a police dog in 2016 while a cop kicked him in the ribs. This is a branch of police brutality that I'm addressing here. A very real branch that is overlooked by the general public. In fact, people celebrate the existence of police dogs. This is insanity. Insanity. Basically, the dogs are indiscriminate weapons, Bennett said. They're not telling the difference between suspects and someone taking the trash out. That's because they can't. Because they are pea-brained, instinct-driven predators, and they don't deserve the title of cop or police officer. A Journal of Forensic and Legal Medicine study counted 33,000 emergency room visits due to police canine bites in the U.S. between 2005 and 2013, and found patients were predominantly male, with black men particularly overrepresented. The history of police canines in the U.S. is irrefutably racist, like I told you guys before in previous videos. Dogs were deployed to chase slaves and later to quell civil rights protests in the 1960s and 70s. Some police departments like St. Paul, Chicago, New Orleans, Oakland, and Seattle have recently moved to severely restrict police dog use in light of public criticism. That is fantastic news. That is great to hear. Other cities need to follow suit. Not only can canines be dangerous, but they are actually pretty bad at some of the jobs they're best known for. Studies show drug-sniffing dogs are accurate less than half the time and tend to alert their handler of illegal drugs to get rewarded whether or not drugs are present. You know, when I say we need to find alternatives to drug-sniffing dogs and to police dogs, this is why. They're not reliable. Can we not produce some sort of electronic device that could be more accurate? We put men on the moon, for Pete's sake. Why can't we do this? Even though dogs tend to act according to their handlers' biases, their dubious alerts give cops justification to search suspects. A Washington state police dog even died in 2015 after inhaling meth during a drug bust. So if you love dogs, You would not wish for them to be used by police as drug-sniffing dogs because they're being put at risk of inhaling the drugs and dying. You wouldn't wish for police to use dogs because they're putting the dogs at risk of being shot, stabbed, killed, you know? I don't get these dog lovers. They don't, like I said, they don't care about dogs. They worship them, but they do not love them. They don't care about dogs at all. They think they do, but they don't. We'll talk about that a bit later. Lopez said using drug-sniffing canines amounts to a racially biased coin toss. Bob Eden, who has 40 years of dog training experience and worked for decades as a canine handler, said the problem lies in unregulated and often woefully inadequate training. While Canada requires officers to go through 12 to 16-week training programs led by other police canine handlers, the U.S. is more laissez-faire, with some police departments relying on civilian vendors offering 2 to 3 week programs. That is outrageous. I have seen dog handlers on the road in some states with as little as 10 days of training, Eden said. Could you imagine? That's just crazy to me. It should be crazy to anybody, to everybody. Has anyone seen the movie Chappie on Netflix? At least I think it's on Netflix. Yeah, it's on Netflix. I just checked. So in this movie, which takes place in the near future, crime is patrolled by robots. There are no police officers. There are no police canines. There are robots. I think we should be developing this technology. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an engineer. But it must be possible to create a safer, more reliable alternative to police dogs. Daryl Davies, a criminologist and Carleton University professor, believes canines play an important role in policing, but should only be deployed when absolutely necessary. Davies said an officer should be held accountable by law if their dog viciously attacks someone, but acknowledged officers are rarely held accountable for violent actions to begin with, and the legal system is stacked against victims. Sometimes police use a victim's instinctive retaliation against their beloved canine partner as justification for shooting the victim. You know, the dog attacks a person, the person has an instinctive, compulsion to fight back against the dog, and then gets shot for trying to defend themselves against the bloodthirsty predator. This is insane. I keep saying that, I keep repeating that. This is insane, but it really is. It's not just humans at risk, it's also the dogs. And this is what I want to stress here, because I've talked a lot about how dog worshippers do not care about dogs. They don't. See my videos about that. I have a whole playlist about how dog ownership is cruel. They don't care about dogs. If they did care about dogs, they would not want police dogs to exist. They wouldn't want police working with dogs. While some dogs are stabbed or shot on the job, a 2015 examination of almost 100 dogs killed on duty found the most common cause of death was being left in hot police cars. I didn't know this. So Lopez, who for decades tried to figure out how to fix police dog use, decided when investigating the Ferguson Police Department in 2014 that it was a pipe dream. Following the police killing of Michael Brown, one of her investigators spoke with a black boy who was attacked by a police dog while he was curled up in a ball on the floor inside a closet of a vacant building. The boy had been hiding because he was skipping school. That poor child. This makes me sick. The investigation also found everyone the Ferguson Department's 5 canines were recorded to have bitten over a 4-year span was black. Lopez said, "We are allowing what I consider to be an inherently dehumanizing use of force. There's just no way to fix it. There's not even a reason we would want to fix this. This is just something that we should stop doing. Thank you. I'm glad I read this article. Thank you, Kisaraji Hina, for sharing it with me. I'm hoping that you guys will take away something from this. It's like I said, it's not just me, but experts are saying that we need to quit using police dogs. And if you care about dogs, you would wish for humans to stop using police dogs as well. As I say, love is hate and hate is love when it comes to dog worship. We who hate dogs are actually showing more love to dogs by not exploiting them for companionship, for, status, for policing. And at least that is our hope. We do not want them to be used for policing. We want alternatives. Now, I have only discussed 2 articles with you. There are many more online, and I strongly urge you to read this one. I will put the link in the description. It is very long, but it is excellent. It does a fantastic job at demonstrating how people of color are disproportionately targeted by police officers and their canine companions. It discusses how there are no guidelines in place as to when police dogs should be deployed or released on people, unlike, chemical weapons. And, there are guidelines for officers when it comes to using tasers or tear gas or whatever. None when it comes to using dogs. It's shocking. And it does a breakdown of the different cities and how many police dog bites were sustained by the population, and very detailed, very informative, and also very shocking. They found that police officers let their dogs chew on people to teach them a lesson for running. They asked officers how they reward their police dogs for successfully finding someone, who was running away. And the answer is they reward the dog with biting, with chewing, with bite. The bite itself is a reward. If the dog doesn't get to sink its teeth into a victim, they actually throw the dog a chew toy so it can bite something. That's its reward. This is shocking stuff. This violence, this bloodlust, this intimidation, this oppression, this terror, this racism has absolutely no place in modern society. This is the stuff of our primitive past that we ought to be ashamed of. It amazes me that police dogs are upheld as heroes, that they are given funerals and vehicle parades. This is insanity. They are not heroes. They are anything but. This sort of brutality is unacceptable, and it's time for us to evolve. We are not cavemen anymore. And future generations are going to look back on this craziness with disgust and disbelief. The future is dog-free.